Now, Nuke will go down, but Serral attacking in the front. Okay, he's not really going to commit to this in this Nuke. Where's our Ghost? There we go. There's the Ghost. So, Nuke on the way. Drones are going to get pulled. Oh, gets 10. Okay. And the bottom right in the red here. He's playing for Basilisk. It's Serral. And on the upper left in the blue for Team Liquid. Looking to continue his run. He didn't run into Serral in Atlanta. Actually, that's not the story here. Rematch here of Masters Colosseum 6, the finals. It's Cure. There we go. That's the important thing to say. Because, again, this is this setup where Cure and Serral, Cure actually in Masters Colosseum 6, Cure won through the upper bracket. Serral got knocked down to the lower bracket, but Cure, did Serral see that? I think his Overlord was, oh, somehow, look at this path. It just went down later. Cure bought a little bit of time. I'm talking about history, and we got to talk about the present because Cure, he's 2-raxing, but not in the way you might expect. And this is a build that's not uncommon to see in TvT. You'll see Terran players do it occasionally. It's a really solid option against some more greedy openers, but we don't really see it in TvZ all that often. But this is the second time in this tournament that I've seen it get played. Maru did it. I think Maru did it reactively to Dark when Dark tried to take the gold base on Alcyone as his natural, but this doesn't seem reactive. This is very proactive coming out of Cure. And the benefit of this is that you have 2 Reapers. You have 2 of your Reapers arrive across the map when Serral's only expecting 1. That actually does make a big difference. 2 Reapers, they 3-shot drones. 1 Reaper 6-shot drones. 2 Reapers 3-shot lings. It's the same math. And what that means is you need a couple more lings. You need maybe Queen's in a bit of a different position. It forces you to play the game just a little bit differently, but for now the Reaper's going to show up in the main base before a Queen is even started here. And with a second Reaper as well, this has tremendous opportunity, tremendous damage potential. So for now, it's going to be okay. So Serral keeps the drone alive. He's got to pump more lings though as the lings continue to fall down. Queen's not ready yet. It's going to be ready right now, but not before all the lings fall down. And he dives on top, gets a drone as well. Both Reapers get out here. And behind this, it's going to be 4 Reapers. 3 on the map, 4th one on the way. So this third base, if Serral ever tries to take it before speed's done, Serral tries to take it before he's got enough Queens out, that 4th base gets canceled. There's no way for Serral to take it before he gets that tech done, which means Serral has lost 5 lings. He's lost a drone. He's had to cancel. He's had to build a spore with a couple more and cancel those. Everything that Cure could want in this game out of this opener, he's gotten it in spades, and more importantly, or just about as importantly, Cure's sending his second barracks back home. He's not sacrificing it for a scout, which can be good given the way he wants to play, or he might want to play, but he's sending this back home, and this unlocks some amount of a 2-1-1 later on. More Marines across the map. More Marines, more stimmed bio across the map. And what that means is that you can put a lot more pressure on this delayed Zerg third base. Because again, Serral, it's 3 minutes and 48 seconds in, and still there's no third base on the way. Serral's at 51 supply, and still there's no third base on the map. So, looking to move forward. I mean, it's 4 minutes in now. Serral's going to drop the third base. And the crazy thing about this is generally, when you go for something like this, when you play the game like this, if you take the third as delayed as Serral is, you have some mitigating factor. You're going for a really quick lair. You are going for a quick roach warning. Like, you're building something to justify this delayed third base. But Serral is just behind. He is significantly behind. And yes, there's a roach warren on the way. And yes, the third base is just about halfway done. But still, Serral is... he's just a little bit behind in this game. He's going to have to find good trades. He's going to have to make sure he doesn't take any more damage from here on out. And that's the job of the Reapers and the Hellions. Serral only lost about 1 drone to this. Yeah, he implicitly lost a couple more because he had to build the extra lings, and that's not your favorite thing ever. But even still, Serral, if he can kind of stabilize at this point, he certainly has a chance in this game. It's not an easy game, but he's got a shot. He's got a chance to make something happen. So we're gonna have to see what exactly he decides to go for. For now, it's a lair on the way, a little bit. Actually, no, it's reasonably timed. He's got roaches just defensively, and we're gonna see him just drone like a madman. I think now that he's up to 6 or 8 roaches, that means that this Reaper Hellion pressure really can't get a lot done. And if it can't get a lot done, it's gonna poke. It's gonna delay some creep spreads, sure, but it shouldn't get much more than that. Now that the roaches are out, now that the queens are out in enough numbers, although Kira thinks he can dive on top of the queens here, there is enough energy for 1 transfuse, and actually Serral doesn't even spend it. He wants to really minimize any expenditure as much as possible because it's something killed drones. There we go. Liberator gets 4 drones, but queens seem to be on top of this for now as the Hellions try to get on top, but again, the roaches are there, so it's creep denial more than anything else. But Serral has to drone like a madman at this point, really working hard to make sure that he develops an economy back into this game. But look at what Kira's doing here. He's going for a bit of an all-in. We actually saw, man, I love watching TvZ meta evolve. We saw tons of things. We saw tons of cycle and play in TvT, and it was all manner of different options and different openings and different timings. But now this is the second time, and I don't think it was Cure that I saw do it in the last round. I think it might have been Clem. Anyway, I forget. This is the second time we've seen this. This time it was a proxied barracks, so a little bit different. But this 2-1-1, this Reaper opener, getting damaged and delaying a third base into a 2-1-1. That's not weird, but into 2-1-1 Hellbats. Getting that really quick armory. The different wrinkle that Cure is doing compared to what we saw Clem do is the fact that we're not getting any Widow Mines on top of it because you get a free cloak, so you might as well, right? And we don't see that happening here. Instead, it's going to be for tanks because there are, in fact, roaches on the fields. The queen, there we go, finally finds its angle. Takes a lot of damage, but will deal with the Liberator for now. But even still, Serral's not mining out of his natural. Heavy pressure on the third base. Was this a kill? No, just a cancel. So roaches for now are going to try to defend this, but that's a lot of bio. And that's a tremendous amount of bio, and it's not something the roaches can fight easily. So Clem continues to try to swarm here. Hellions, excuse me, through the middle of the map. Double drop. Again, just shaving roaches off of Clem's economy. And funnily enough, it's only 24 dead units in this game, 7 minutes in, but it's still been a pretty action-packed early game. Yeah, in the middle, not a lot's going to happen. But this armory, was it canceled and remade? Because I could have sworn that armory was going to be done fast. Oh, no. Wait, did we see it? Yeah, okay, I'm just dumb. I'm looking at the production tab. I'm like, I could have sworn an armory was done already. Meanwhile, +1 is halfway done. I'm blind. It's fine. But Clem's got double armory, and I don't know if this is a mistake because it did time out with his +1 perfectly, or whether he is planning on going double mech upgrades on top of this. That'd be pretty cool, actually. Serral, though, has found the tech. He's found the units that he wants that will allow him to drag this game out just a little bit further. And that unit's the Infester. He's got Infestors on the way behind, or he's actually got Infestors on the map. And what that means is that even though this army of Serral, it's okay. Not incredible, it's not horrible, it's just okay. The Infestors mean that it's really hard for Clem to ever take a straight up fight. Any sort of multitasking, a double medevac drop can be annihilated by 2 fungals and a bile or something. Like, it's a lot harder. It is significantly harder for Cure to be active on the map pretty much from this timing up until the time the ghosts are on the map, and we don't have a Ghost Academy, so it's going to be a little bit longer, I think, before Cure is really happy about what's happening. And this +1 Hellbat timing that it looked like we were going to see, in fact, is not going to materialize in the slightest. Cure just sits back at home. He got a single eBay, and generally single eBay means aggression, but in this case, I guess, just wanted to make sure he wasn't going to die. Anyways, single eBay just means that while Serral was maybe behind in upgrades a little bit, he's going to catch up pretty quickly because he's got double Evo. They're upgrading at the same time. It's going to be pretty solid from that perspective. And now Serral's got his 5th base on the way. It was a pretty rough early game. That Reaper pressure got a lot of value. But Serral's built himself back into this game. Kira's given him the time, but we're going to have to see if that time is worth anything, because here comes the push out of Kira. His +2 attack's going to be done in about 10 seconds. +2 armor is much further away as Clem tries to drop in the main base, but there are already lurkers here. They don't have the upgrades that they need. They don't have seismic spines, but even still, they are going to be a really hard thing for Clem to push into. Marines don't fight into this. Tanks can, but you need a really good scan. And Clem, well, he continues to move forward a little bit. Now Serral thinks about the fight here, thinks about, I guess, trying to break forward, but he was just looking for some Ravager biles. Okay, that's totally respectable. Just knock the forward tank down, drop 3 biles, it's fine. Fungo lands on the medevacs, but it's not going to land on the Marines, which is what you really want to go break the base or break the drop down. So Clem continues to be active. Serral runs forward. Biles shift. Oh, that's awkward. That doesn't feel good. Even as the tank goes down, that was 4 dead Ravagers. And this push from Clem, Serral needs to find some way to break the rocks open and really get a good surround going, because attacking front to back into this is going to be tremendously hard. So Medevacs, think about time for dropping into the main base. That's not good. 1 Medevac's dead. Queens do heavy damage to it. So as that happens, that gives Serral an opportunity. Not a ton of bile. It's going to be another dead tanks, and the patience that he has here. So yeah, lose a Ravager here or there, but to slowly whittle this tank count down to the point that it's suddenly manageable. That it's a lot harder for Clem to go and attack into this. Well, this unlocks the left side for Serral's army to maybe go harassing a little bit, and certainly it takes a lot of the strength out of this attack from Clem on the right side. So now Serral, he is the one trying to be aggressive just a little bit. His Infester has no energy, so I don't know why it's with the army, but he's going to siege up a bunch of lurkers on top of the third, or yeah, this was the 3rd base, and he cancels a building command center. That's really, really nice. In fact, yeah, it was just a cancel. Okay, but as the tanks run forward, you're forced back. What's our ghost count at? So, okay, the ghost count is starting to get reasonable. The ghost count is starting to get to where we need it to be, but really what Serral is missing right now, what he needs more than anything else, he needs a couple Vipers. He needs some way to abduct these tanks, knock them off, maybe drop a blinding cloud or two, and really force this army back. Because while Clem's not getting a ton, it's forcing a lot of Serral's army to sit there. It's denying creep spread. It's making it hard for Serral to knock the rocks down, which you would very much like to do. That minimizes the threat of a lot of different attack paths. But instead, it's 5 Dropper Lords. And for this, Terran players are just really used to playing Serral, I guess, because this is the 2nd time in a late game TvZ in the last month and a half where we've seen Serral go for this heavy lurker drop thing. And Vikings are exactly where they need to defend. They're exactly where they need to be to defend. So I don't see this game ending particularly quickly. At this point, Serral, he's locked down his side of the map. There's one more base that he would like to take, but that's considerably harder. He's got a Nidus on the way. He's got a Spire on the way. His upgrades they're not incredible, but they're good enough. He's got +2 for range. He's got +1 done for his melee, but they've got Adrenal on the Lings, I'm going to assume. Yeah. No, actually, no Adrenal Lings. So these Lings aren't really all that spicy. You really, even if you're not going to get +3 for a time, getting Adrenal is such an important thing. But now this base is going to go down on the north side, and the lurkers are in enough number and in enough position that it's kind of hard for Clem to fight into those at the moment. So base goes down, 5 SCVs go down, and look at what Serral's doing here. First of all, he's taking the north side base, and I love this. As long as he mines from it, again, taking a base from a Terran is such an important thing. But what Serral's doing is he's dropping this Nidus, and while you might say, wow, what's he doing there? It's not really an important counterattack, but position, not really. There we go. 1 ghost falls down, but EMPs don't really land. This is an escape path for Serral. He's gonna be able to go and get. Oh, he could have saved that Infester. He could have dropped that in the Nidus. He's not, but he could have. And now it's dead. But it's just an escape path. It means that the lurkers could hang around just a little bit longer and then run away and be totally fine. So now Viper's finally getting at it in here. Greater Spire on the way, and here comes a big army from Serral on the left side. Ghost count's pretty significant though, and the tanks as well. And again, no spellcasters here makes this somewhat difficult. Bile's on the planetary. Serral's going to try to focus that down. In fact, he's going to be tremendously successful. No building armor done yet. But because of the tanks on the high ground, because of the tanks on the low ground, Serral really can't break the position. So he forces the lift, sure, but he can't get on top of the army as he continues to extract pressure elsewhere. That's another canceled base. Not dead yet, but it is canceled. And Serral is... We talked about how late game TvZ is predicated on split or on constricting the map. That's what the Terran player wants to do. They're going to go and slowly make the map smaller and smaller for the Zerg and deny more and more space from the Zerg. Well, Serral's kind of doing that with his Lurker play in this game. Cura's getting... He had the map, but he is getting progressively more and more stuck in this 5-base setup. And there we go again. Nidus head pops. Serral's got a way out. Once again, the Lurkers can deny mining as much as possible. And again, this is so cool coming out of Serral. We don't see Zerg players... Oh, man, this Lurker doing so much here. We don't see Zerg players use Nidus worms like this all that much. And no, Viper running forward, abducting a couple ghosts. They're going to knock those down. And again, I don't know. Again, the most important part of a late game TvZ we talked about in the previous series about Infesters being this really powerful thing that is probably the most important unit that a Zerg has in the ultra late game. Well, Ghosts are that for the Terran. Ghosts deal with Infesters. Ghosts snipe Lurkers down. They make it hard for Ultras to do anything. They're decent in a pinch, I guess. They're decent in a pinch against a bunch of Broodlords. Like, they are really good across the board, and they're incredibly expensive. So if you are the Terran player and you're playing this late game, your job is to trade well, absolutely. Cure has kind of. He's only... Actually, no, I'm sorry. I misread that. Cure's actually traded worse than Serral has. 17 minutes into this late game. And remember how that started. Serral didn't see anything happening. He went and... His third base didn't start until 4 minutes. It was pretty rough. But instead, at this point, Serral he's got Cure locked back down. Base mining bottom left side. Base taken upper right side. Although we need to see him mine from it when it's done. Now potentially Nidus in the main base, but there are Marines and there are Marauders here, and Cure is aware of this potentiality, of this... Actually, really, we should say eventualities. Now Serral trying to attack in forward. Now Nuke will go down, but Serral attacking in the front. Okay, he's not really going to commit to this in this Nuke. Where's our Ghost? There we go. There's the Ghost. So Nuke on the way. Drones are going to get pulled. Oh, gets 10. Okay. I was going to say drones pulled from other bases, but Serral just did not see that at all. I mean, we've seen bigger nukes. Solar Maru comes to mind. Solar Cure actually comes to mind. Solar... It happened to Solar a third time. Maybe it was Solar Maru twice and Solar Cure once. I forget. We've seen bigger nukes, but that's still pretty nice. You almost never see those land. Now our second nuke is on the way. Meanwhile, again, Serral's... He would like to be able to establish a position, say get a bunch of Lurkers on the high ground or something. That makes... He's actually got a bunch of Lurkers on the high ground. And the scan is late, so it's a lot of damage. It really is. And now Curie's got to make a decision. He wants to take that north side base, and he may eventually... But there we go. The Nidus is done, and, well, yeah, Fungals are going to go down. That base is not going to get taken. So, Serral, he denies the north side base, but he does have to go, and he does have to pull away from the nuke that is going to get dropped. But this time, it's a single drone. It really is not nearly as bad. A Ghost will fall. And Serral... I love what he's doing here, just denying bases as much as possible. The next step, though, is again you need to start mining, and that'd be really cool. There's this idea here as we see the Nidus go down next to the base that Serral's trying to take from Cure. If he was to go and put 24, what is it, 22? Yeah, if he was to put 22 drones in the Nidus and drop it onto the base, so you're mining as much as possible. 16 on minerals. 6 on gas, right? And just start to mine as much as possible. And the moment the Terran gets aggressive, you just pull all the drones into the Nidus head, and then you don't lose the drones, which is one of the reasons why it might be a little scary to try to steal money from a Terran base, because, well, you know, is it going to be worth losing 22 drones? That's 22 larvae. That's 1,100 minerals. It's going to take a while to make that be worth it. But if you have a cheap and easy way to get out, great. That's fantastic. As much as I talk about things that Serral's doing right in this game, Cure is sitting on 18 Liberators. He is sitting on 18 liberators. He's got lib range, +2 range, or +2 air attack. This Sky Fleet coming out of our Terran player is a significant problem. And while we have some Hydras, it's not a ton. So yeah, if you take fights like this, where it's 1 or 2 liberators and you catch them as their siege, that can be really nice. This tank's going to fall down as well. And Serral at this point is going to have to run back. Roaches, hey, they're going to sacrifice their life. Serral doesn't need that supply anymore. And he does make sure that snipes don't go on to anything else. But yes, I was going to say Serral does need an answer to the, I'm assuming 16 yeah, no, never mind. Production cycle ended. To the 20 liberators that are on the map. And 17 corruptors is a start, but you still have to deal with the ghosts as well. Ghosts will absolutely eviscerate a bunch of corruptors as they dive in. They just get sniped down. So it's still kind of an awkward army to fight. We saw Serral against Maru, I think, actually. There we go. Oh, he's going to get out. Oh, I was talking about it. I feel so smart right now. It's not the right base. Well, I guess technically it's the right base, but it's not the base we were talking about. Even still, I feel like a genius right now. Oh, man. Serral and I, we're on the same wavelength, except he wins world championships and I lose my ladder games. That being said, more and more corruptors are on the way as Serral looks for his max out. His bank is massive. His bank is just 8k, 5k, and he's not mining. I mean, he's up 3 arrows, so I actually guess he's mining a ton. I was going to say that we're not seeing the numbers go up all that quickly, but it's only because he's building stuff. Now here he's gonna scan out. Yeah, this base is being mined out of the left side. It's only 12 workers, not 16. But again, we still have this. We have this egress. Just pull away, fight again another day, finding this value. That's so cool. And now all the corruptors they've baited out the liberators, so they're gonna go and get on top of whatever they can find. Getting some Vikings. Oh, they're gonna get all the Vikings. This unlocks the main base, by the way. Not perfectly, but look at this positioning out of Serral. He gets so many so many liberators, I guess. The corruptors will not fall. Or some of them will fall, but not a ton. And certainly Serral isn't killing his own corruptors. But now if we look at our liberator count, it's not 20, it's 15. That's a lot of dead liberators in the last 20 seconds or so. Now Serral, he's unlocked on the map. He's been trading so well for so long that now he has this opportunity to really start to get in the soft underbelly of the Terran, but it's not all that soft. It's still very prickly, even as we talk about everything that Serral's done, mining from the base, saving drones with the Nidus, because that's just so kick-ass. But you still do have to be... This is not a free game for Serral, absolutely not. Even if he's only trading 1,000 resources worse in this game. As again, the drones are gonna get out. I love this. This is... Oh, man. This makes me so happy. This makes me so happy. And yeah, like you're losing 150 gas every time, which is the key thing. The mineral count doesn't really matter when you have 8k, but you're losing 150 gas each time. But for keeping 20 drones alive, that really is worth it. That is such a big deal for Serral, and especially if he can mine out more than half the base, then that's a free base. If you mine out more than half of the Terran's base, it means you're up 1 base on the Terran, and at that point you can trade about 26,000 resources worse and still come out ahead, or still come out even. So that's what we're looking at here. Is now Serral trying to get on top of this army, but well, not Serral's gonna try to get on top of this army. Clem's trying to get on top of this army, trying to get on top of this base, and again the drones are going to get saved in the Nidus head. Serral is using this tech, has used this tech like 7 or 8 times in this game, and I can't remember the last time I've seen that. Trigger, thank you so much for the raid. Hope your stream was fantastic. Of course, this is the second series we're doing today from Masters Colosseum. It's Serral, it's Cure, and Serral's been doing some really cool stuff. He's been doing some really cool stuff with putting Nidus heads around to keep drones alive, as these parasitic bombs are really doing so much damage. That being said, though, Serral's lost a lot of hatcheries recently. He does need to remove this position from the map. Baneling's going to run forward. Ghosts get canceled. Their snipes will not find what they're looking for today. And yes, they have personal cloaking, and yes, they're going to kite these Banelings away. But at this point, the problem is that Cure has no money. The problem is that Cure is at 122 supply, and Every single one of the Liberators went down. There was a point in the game where he was at like 20, 22 Liberators. Not a single one. Not a single Liberator on the map. His main base is mined out. His natural's mined out. His third base is dead, or at least been forced to move elsewhere. His fourth base is starting to mine out. His fifth base is getting rough. His production is getting killed by a bunch of corruptors. And more importantly than the barracks is the fact that he's killed off some starports. Which is not what you want. Is now the ghost snipes are going to get canceled once again. Here comes Serral. This seems like it's going to be the last fight unless something miraculous happens. Cure is so far back against the ropes. Corruptors knocking everything out of the sky. Personal cloaking is a big deal. There's no detection in this army, so it's actually not going to be the last fight unless Cure decides to tap out. Everything that's not, for the most part, everything that's not the guy, not the ghost though, will fall. Some Marauders survive, some Marines survive, but everything, the sky is gone. A lot of Marines are gone. And this is becoming a meme at this point. This is really just every time Cure gets close with this army, Serral's like, run away! We ring the alarm bells! We're ringing them! Run away! Don't deal with anything! And that means that in this game that Serral very easily could have lost about 60 drones. Instead, he's only lost 27. And that has led us to a game where Serral's up 2,000. This doesn't happen. I mean, clearly Cure's dead, but this doesn't happen. Cure is down 2,000 resources in a late game TvZ where the Zerg's been playing Ling Bane. Zergs don't win this game based on cost-effective trades. They win on having more bases and having more production and winning before the Terran takes the entire map. So the fact that Serral's traded better than our Terran player is ludicrous. That's just not how this works. And you talk about crazy games. The craziest thing I've ever seen was Clem versus Dark right before Atlanta, so about a month ago. I want to say the map's Oceanborn. It's not. Well, no, yeah, Oceanborn. Clem won a map against Dark on Oceanborn, where Clem, it was a late game, and Clem traded worse by about 1,000 resources, and still somehow won the game, which is simultaneously the most impressive thing I've ever seen, and also the most dark thing I've ever seen. Dark can win games when he's massively behind, but he can also out-trade a Terran in a 25-minute game and still lose somehow, which is just... I saw it happen in real time, and I still can't quite fathom that it did. It's just insane. So, Serral, all eyes focus on the north side base. This is the only mining base that truly matters here. Corruptors thinking about diving in, but man, the ghost count is still insanely significant. But here come Lings. They're going to cancel some of the snipes. Now Corruptors are going to get on top of this base. So very little mining, extremely little mining for Cure at this point. But this ghost count is a lot. And the Marauders, as they continue to build this wall, continue to kite backwards. Nuke gets dropped, but there's nothing there. Drones were pulled away. Actually, were they in the Nidus? No, there was just nothing really to mine from at that base in the moment. So actually, wait a minute. No, drones were just pulled away. Okay. But now the ghost is just starting to kill him. Okay. That's pretty cool. Even still, Serral didn't lose too much to the nuke, which is the key rider there. The key important thing is now Cure's trying to knock this base down again, trying to equalize this game, and the bank from Serral's not as big as it was, but Cure's got to take a good fight here, and the Banelings are getting massive connections. Everything's falling down. If Cure took a really good fight there, and if he knocked the base down, maybe that would have been enough to make this game interesting, to bring it back into contention again, as now Serral, he's got this Infester. Surprised he's not doing anything with it. That would have been enough to bring it back to contention, but as it stands, Serral takes game one in a 29-minute epic. Cure, our semi-finalist in this rematch of Masters Colosseum 6, cannot quite pull it through, and Serral is up 1. And the bottom left in the red, he's up a game in the series just to knock him out, drag him out, slugfest of a game 1. It's Serral. Of course, upper right in the blue, down a game for Team Liquid. It's Cure. And if you remember what happened in game 1, that was a game 1 that was decently a good position for Cure. He got damage done with the Proxy Reaper. He delayed the third base. But before we get into this, I'm sorry. I'd be remiss to not say that if you want more StarCraft action of Serral and Maru and Cure and Dark and Rainer and Max packs and just you want to see what happens in the rest of the Masters Colosseum, hit that sub button, because every single day there's going to be a StarCraft cast. There's going to be probably a Stormgate cast going forward, certainly during the Steam Next period from February 5th to the 12th. We'll be doing as much as I can on that one. So hit the sub button so you don't miss out. Like the video, because it really does help out with the algorithm. And also follow me on Twitch, because that's where I'm streaming this right now. And you can come hang out. We can talk about StarCraft and talk about how for the second time in a row, here's opening with a double barracks, double Reaper play, but he's not proxying this time. He's not going and putting the first or the second barracks on the map and catching Serral by surprise that way. He's just doing the standard. He's doing this build that took the Terran world by storm 3 or 4 months ago. Actually, a little bit longer than that. We're quite for a while at this point, but took the Terran world by storm. It was really solid for a bit, and then Zergs figured out a 15-15 opening. But even if you don't, you get a quick Roach Warren, and you can deal with it for the most part. It's not nearly as strong as it was 3 months ago. But Cure seems to be really favoring it against Serral specifically. And I think that's fair, because while that was a decent late game, not even. Serral out-traded Cure in a 30-minute game. That is just insane. And what a marker of how good Serral's late game is. And also, what a marker about how good Maru's late game is, and what a marker about how good Clem's late game is. Because if Serral can go and trade better than a Terran player playing Hydroling Bane in 30 minutes against Cure, by the way, who's the #2 Terran in Korea. If he can do that, and Maru and Clem are still able to beat him in the late game, that's wild. That just shows just how good Clem and Maru are playing. So these Reapers, they really don't get anything. They even get a Ling. Yeah, they literally got nothing done. They delayed the third base just a little bit. 38 supply going down instead of 32, but that's not delaying the third base until 4.5 minutes, which is what happened in game 1. That is not putting Serral on the back foot in the way that he was. And now Cure, he's gonna have this 2-1-1. Oh, wait. There was Stim on the way, right? Yeah. Oh, Cure had Stim on the way. Cure canceled Stim, and now Cure is building it again and Cure's going mech. I think that's what's gonna happen here. Cure's trying to fake Serral out. He wants every time that he thinks the Lings are gonna run forward, he wants to go and convince him is now the yeah, okay, there we go. Forgot about the perf pillar. But he wants to sell this idea that he's going bio, that he's getting Stim. But Cure is going mech in this game, and that is very much a Cure thing to do. Cure is a mech player. And you might say, but Beo, it's 4:30, 4:25 in this. Surely this is not real. Surely you don't cancel Stim. Oh, okay. So I guess it's not mech after all. I was going to make some argument about, Beo, don't you know that there's no gas at the natural? And generally that's what mech means. But I'm like, yeah, maybe I just think Cure's just doing something weird. No, Cure was trying to pantomime a 2-1-1. Like, this is technically a 2-1-1, sure, with the double barracks opening, but he was trying to pantomime a 2-1-1 that was going to hit at around 5 minutes. That's why he got the Stim as early as he did, but he kept canceling because he actually wanted to go for Reaper Hellion for all of this, and he was hoping that Serral would ultra greed, because if you're going 2-1-1, the Zerg player doesn't have to build a ton of Lings. They really don't. They drone up as hard as possible up until about 4:30, 4:45, and then they pump about 36 Lings, and they're fine. And in a game like that, if we did have the Zerg player play that greedy, then this Reaper Hellion or this Hellion Banshee play that Cure's been trying to pantomime wasn't happening, would have gotten a ton of damage done. Would have been tremendously valuable. It would have dove into mineral lines, maybe sniped some queens. But instead, Serral just played safe. He played it safe. He played it solid. As now the Lings from the right side, these Cyclones should fall at this point. Although speed zones are very, very nice here. And the micro from Cure is tremendously fancy. So even though I thought everything was going to fall, no, it's going to be okay. Cure gets at least some of it out. And now there's the 2-1-1, but it's hitting at 6 minutes. It's not hitting at 5 minutes. Or 5:30, if there's a 3-base 2-1-1 is want to do. So Serral, he reads it properly. His drone counts at 69. Very nice. He's going to have a fourth. Oh, interesting. Fourth base location, too. Generally, you take the triangular fourth, but he's just going where the creep spread is on the low ground here. And this will also give him a bit of a staging ground if he does decide to go for some sort of heavy roach play. But now they're dropping the main base, and Serral preemptively pulls the drones. He knows that he doesn't have an army right here, right now, but roaches are going to pop pretty soon. So he's not going to take that much damage. Just buys a little bit of time. Reapers and Hellions on the left side, though. That's a little bit more. That's pretty nice. And the roaches in the main base, they're not ready yet. Hellions looking for the run by or the lineup, but it's only a single Hellion. So the splash damage is not truly there. Driving to the main base, Serral has to deputize over. This is the damage that Cure's been looking for. 11 drones are going to go down. Another shot from the Hellion will not be found, but it's 11 dead drones and maybe a couple more. This is what you're looking for. If you're Cure, this is the slowdown, because up until this point, Serral has been perfect on his defense. He really took no damage. He got his third base on time. He read the Hellion Cyclone play. He knew what was happening there, so he didn't get out greedy and then get punished. But the drop of the main base and the pressure at the third base at the right time, that has slowed Serral down. 13 dead workers is a lot. Luckily for Serral, I guess, he wasn't gearing up for a 1-1 Roach max. He's got his fourth base, certainly. But he's just building a couple Infesters. We're going to see him drone up. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Hive get dropped pretty quickly. And instead of going for a big game-ending push, which I don't... He might have been able to do before the damage. He certainly can't do it now. It's just going into the late game. Getting yourself in that solid position that you out-traded Cure in a Ling Bane game early on. Although these Marines are being somewhat annoying. You don't have any anti-air. Not Queens technically are some anti-air, but not really. You're relying on a good fungal and then some good biles, but that's also not quite in position. So there are a lot of Infestors on the map, and Serral is building a lot of Overlords at once, but it's not going to do a ton. That being said, nice target fire there from Cure. 8 workers will fall. So Cure actually, in this game where Serral's just trying to play as defensively as possible, just trying to get himself up to the tech that he wants to find himself in, Cure is penetrating this defense. He is ripping this thing asunder. This is 20 dead drones 8 minutes in. And yeah, this drop's not going to do much anymore. It's low. The Queens are in position. Oh, I'd say he's not going to do too much more. That's a couple more dead drones right there just waiting for Cure to pluck them. Nice and ripe off the vine. But we were talking about Serral getting into Hive pretty quickly. I think that was the goal. I think that was the dream. But it's 9 minutes, and the Hive is only just now getting started. Serral really felt like he had to spend a lot of gas to make sure that he didn't die, and valid, fair. But that means that his Hive is tremendously far behind, and this push coming out of Cure, with the tank counts as they are, is really powerful. Serral's going to be incredibly reliant on really good fungals to make sure that he gets what he needs, so he's going to try to take the fight in the choke right now, but the Infestors aren't there. They're out of scan range, trying to drag Cure forward a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. Come into my parlor, said the spider to the fly. But the fly is tricky. The fly's dodging the webs for right now. Even as a tank goes down, now the Infestors are going to run forward, but they can't run into tank range. They can't run into vision range of the tanks. They will get shot down. So now, again, the fly runs a little bit further forward, and Serral thinks about the run by. This run by is going to be hard to stop. That's a lot of roaches. But what that also means is that Cure's army in the middle of the map is really uncontested, but he's not going to bother with it. He's not going to opt for the base trade or anything like that. He's just going to bring his entire army back home. And what this means is Serral has bought himself some time. He's bought himself probably 2-2 at this point. He's bought his Hive done. But no Vipers. Not just yet. No Adrenal on the way. Not just yet. Baneling speed's getting started, and it's wild because it's Baneling speed off the Hive timing, not the Lair timing, and that it requires Lair to get Baneling speed. So Again, it's just a little bit wild, but now 2-2 is done right now. These roaches are suddenly a lot stronger, a lot more powerful, and Serral, he's got a decent amount of his army on the other side of the map as Kure tries to slow push forward, but the tank will go down, and the Roach is trying to get on top of these Marines. They will succeed in doing so, and the entire army at this point of Kure is going to get forced back home, which, guess what? This means dangling tanks in the middle of the map right here. Serral's going to try to get right on top of them. Marines, they get fungled. They don't get the damage they need at all. And this was the move that brings Serral right back into this game. This is exactly what he was looking for. You distract Kure, you force the army back home, and then you clear the tank count. It's all gone. We were looking at 10 tanks from Kure. Now there are 2. And by the way, Kure forgot his +2 armor. Kure pulled a Beyond. So his army is just not going to be as good as the Zerg players for quite a while, especially now that Hydroden's on the way. +3 Carapace is on the way. Adrenal's halfway done. Baneling Speed's done. Because of that one fight, well, that sequence of events, Serral has now brought resources lost back into equal. He's only down about 500 resources in a 12-minute game, which is, again, insane. That's wild. But on top of that, he's bought so much time to really develop the tech of his army. And far from a state where the tech of Kure's army was better. He had Marauder, Marine, and a ton of tanks. With Medivacs, that's a pretty solid mid-game tech army. All of a sudden, I mean, Serral is just eclipsing this. He's got a far more complex army, a far more versatile army that allows him to do really whatever he wants to do. So, again, the world is Serral's oyster. And Kure, he's got 4 bases. He needs the 5th. He needs more position on the map, as now this army's going to run for. Oh, that's a lot of Banelings that Kure's going to be able to target down. That feels really, really good. That's a lot of the defense that Serral's been relying on. And we talk about Solaris as it's a really good Terran map. In part because this position right here is Serral's doing a pretty nice job of making it hard to push through. But we can see how close this 3rd base is to the base that Serral's mining from. And we can see how choked out it is, how good it is for tanks. So, again, it's just really nice for what Kure's trying to do. And there's another reason, by the way, that Serral took this forward base. Not only was it for the rich gas, and not only was it for the creep spread forward, but if he can mine more out of this base before the Terran push really gets started, that's really good for him. That means that even if it does get knocked down eventually, fungal on this army. This is not a fight Serral wants. He's just very clumped up. But it does mean that eventually, even if he gets broken, at least even if the position gets broken, he's going to have mined a lot of the money out beforehand, as those Baneling connections are so solid. And again, Kure's going to get pushed back a little bit, but while he's pushed back, the rebound effect from the Terran actually says a lot more than that. Serral thinks about going for the run by, but Kure notices, and the Infester's not dropping the fungals just yet. Serral's dealing with things elsewhere, but okay, he drops the fungals at the end. Miles goes down on the tanks here, and yeah, Kure jumped on top of that counterattack force, but it is not working out for him here whatsoever. More ghosts are going to fall down. The fungals are really nice. And while Serral is at only about 155 supply, he's a little bit... Oh, nice snipe there on the ghost. Serral's a little bit larva maxed for them, or larva capped for the moment. He needs his inject cycles to complete. Resources lost is still even in a TV. This just doesn't happen. I know I've been saying it before, but I'm going to say it again. That just does not happen. Even still, 11 ghosts have died in a 14-minute game. And 13 tanks. That is a significant expenditure coming out of Kure. So Serral's got more money. He's got a bigger economy. And he has traded evenly, if not better, than the Terran player at this point, which, again, is just... It's unheard of in a TvZ, and to see Serral do it 2 games in a row this late is wild. So we're going to see the Medivacs go down. Nice use of the Vipers right there. And I've been talking this entire tournament about how we're seeing this is great, not only because it's a $42,000 tournament, which is a lot of money, but also it's, nice run by here from Kure, drop, or whatever you want to call it. 7 dead drones. Going to get the spore as well before backing out, because eventually Serral's army is going to respond. But also, this tournament's fantastic because it's enough money to convince players to play hard, but it's also right before Katowice, which means that everyone is practicing super hard for Katowice as well. So you put those two together, and we're just going to have like a month and a half of incredible games. Not to mention Atlanta just happened, and that had the single best game of all time in my, or one of the single highest quality games of all time. Is now Serral getting on top of this base that it's not as important as it once was. It's only four or five mineral patches. It's not the full 6. It's mined out a little bit, but it is positioning and it is mining. So it's only 4 mineral patches on that side, even though Serral's going to be able to break it a little bit. But what he really wants is this low ground base. Unfortunately for him, that's a lot of tanks right there. So if he's going to be able to take the base, he's got to take a really good fight, breaking the front line and then abducting the tanks down. And that's how you get on top of things. Is now Lings are going to defend the burrowed Ling. It's still burrowed, sure, but the tank will fall. And Serral, he's going to prevent this preventative force, and this base will not land for just a little bit longer as the Hydras are going to fight. And now on top of the base, on top of the planetary Vipers, are they going to get the abduct? No, but the base is just dead anyways. Snipes on the backside get like 1 or 2 Hydras, but the snipes are just a little bit too slow. Just a tiny bit too slow. And that changeling right there. Okay, there we go. Now Kier's going to find it. But oh, Fungal, no, okay, Kier saw that, just the blip of that on the missile turret. Even still, Parasitic's going to go, bombs are going to go down once again, and Serral tries to break his way through this position. Medivacs boost forward, and there should be not a gift at all. In fact, I thought Serral would target that down. He's not going to. Serral continues to trade pretty dang well. He continues to trade better than the Terran. I don't properly understand what's happening. I just know that Serral's playing out of his mind. He's playing an order of magnitude better than Cure is, and it's easy to... This game is still winnable by Cure if he's able to slow things... Well, he has been slowing things down, but if he's able to go and take the rest of the bases and make sure he starts trading a little bit better, certainly that's possible. EMPs go on the front line, but really nothing there. Liberators unsieged, and the Baneling connections again are just fantastic. Although that Infester tried a little bit too hard. These connections, though, these Baneling connections are incredible. And yeah, that was still a less than positive trade. Serral trades 1,000 resources worse. Serral has more bases. Serral has more money. Serral's mining more. So even as we can talk about, well, Serral's finally starting to trade a little bit worse, it doesn't matter. At this point in the game, in this type of late game, we expect Serral to be down about 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 resources. And he's kind of equalizing. He's less than 1,000 resources lost down once again. He's thinking about this fight in the middle of the map here. This Infester is sharking around Serral. That's a potentially juicy one. That being said, the speeds or the corners make this hard. So for the moment, I was gonna say the corner makes this hard, but Serral's got this opportunity. Well, now he doesn't, because the scan goes down and the Infester is dead. I feel like it's almost worth it if you're playing this Infester style. I feel like it's almost worth it to just make sure the Infestors, as much as possible, they just sit on top of the tanks, because even if, or they're on top of some army, because then even if they get scanned out, friendly fire from a tank or a Widowmine or something, you might get something. As these Lings are just eviscerating Cure at this point. That's a dead orbital. And I think on the right side, it's burning. SCVs are going to repair it in time. What are we at orbital count wise? Man, Serral's just dominating. That's only 4 orbitals. That's not a ton, especially when you have to consistently scan. But I've spent the last couple days casting Maru versus Zergs, and Maru versus Serral, Maru versus Dark, and we've been talking about how Maru looks better than I've seen him in a while. Maru just is really, really clean. Serral is looking insanely clean in this matchup right now. And yeah, Cure is not Maru. Cure is not Clem. Cure is still very, very good, and he has championship winning. He can win championships. He was the 2nd best Terran coming out of Korea. But at this point, Serral's just dominating him at this point. Just everything Cure wants to do. Yeah, Serral's going to lose the bottom side base. He's actually going to lose 2 hatcheries at the same time, which is not ideal. But he's taking the 12 o'clock base out of Cure. He's denied the 3rd base. And again, resources lost are important. Serral's only down about 1,000 resources. So even as we say, maybe Serral's mining is a little bit rough, or has been hindered a little bit. It's not rough. He's still mining a ton. He's still mining 2,500 minerals a minute. He's got a bank. Cure doesn't really. Cure's not mining all that much. So this army is, it's not the last army Cure's going to have, but we're starting to get in that position where Cure needs to really start to ramp things up as the Hydras are just in the middle of the map. Knocking down missile turrets is always really nice. It's free money. It's free real estate existing on the map. This push, though, it's going to be hard for Serral to really deal with. I wouldn't be surprised to just see him pull the drones away and say, oh, that's fine. You know, you took the position. Okay. Sure. I've mined some of your own. I've taken money out of your pocket. I'm going to content myself with that for now. Serral's actually, this is a little bit awkward. He's waiting on another Broodlord. What does he have? He's got 10 Broods on the map. This is what he's waiting for. He was waiting for the Broodlords to arrive, and yeah, 12 drones have died. Serral doesn't really care. He's got 3,200 minerals in the bank. This tank count will fall. Right side, it's going to be another dead planetary, now down to 3 for Cure. And the Bio tries to get on top of this. I mean, good luck. Good luck here. Even though Cure will get the base. It needs to be more. Although, man, a mule hammer went down. And Marty V. Purin, thank you so much there for the Prime Gaming sub. He says boom because the base went down and the Ling run by is killing yet more. And Serral's going to catch tanks in the middle of the map if he decides to, which he is apparently a kind and merciful god, and is not going to go for that for now. Even still, base on the right side, dead. Serral taking the base on the north side. Cure is effectively mining out of one base that has already been broken once and has been mined out of for a decent amount of time. Yeah, it's still on 6 mineral or still on 8 mineral patches, but some of the small ones are starting to mine out just a little bit. And Cure's got to find more because yes, Serral lost the bottom side bases, but he's retaking them. I was gonna say he doesn't need to drone up. He can reposition over a little bit, and yeah, knocking this base down is fine. It's only 4 mineral patches left. The gas is gone. It's not nearly as relevant as it was. And again, the Ling's run by. This is the important bases. Now the Broodlords. This is a sick spot for the Broodlords to be. Dead airspace right next to the fight, but the drones are going to have to be pulled away for a time because Cure's on 145 army supply. And that's a significant amount of army supply. It's a hard army for Serral to take this straight up fight against without really good spellcaster usage or a really good surround. So he's going to be looking for that right now. Drones are going to get sacrificed for the cause here. Serral wants to take the fight around the speed zone, maybe gets the Bailings on top a little bit more. But no, this is a rough fight. Blinding Clouds still on top of the tanks are nice, but I feel like you want Blinding Clouds on top of really the bio more than anything else. These Broodlords, oh, that's the fungal. That's the game-ending fungal right there. The Broodlords are well, actually, there's no detection in this army right now. The Ghosts are going to try to snipe down what they can, but it's not going to be enough here. Well, maybe, actually. Maybe it's going to be enough to not lose the Ghosts. It's still a horrible spot, but Serral's bank's been reset. And there's no anti-air to deal with. A couple of Vikings, no anti-air to deal with this Liberators, so Broodlords are starting to go down, and I thought that was it. I really did. The Funkos go down. Broodlord on top. The Ghosts are dying, but no detection in the army. And Cure survives, just barely. And Serral's mining in a way that Cure is not, but I mean, I think Cure's still dead. It's still 100 supply to 50. But the fact that Cure was able to exhaust the bank and force Serral back and not lose that fight by itself is pretty impressive and a testament to how strong Ghost Liberator late game Terran can be if controlled appropriately. But it's all about this base, and because it's all about this base, Cure's trying to take the right side. It's not going to happen. But because it's all about this middle base here, that's going to be a lot of mules. Well, I was going to say it's a lot of mules getting dropped, but we are looking at 3 orbitals on the map. That's not a lot of mules. So when we saw Clem do the incredible comeback against Serral in Atlanta, that was predicated upon the fact that Clem had about 12 orbitals by the time that happened. 12 orbitals are a lot of mules, as this base will fall. Repair is there. It's so little HP, so actually, you know, maybe might last a little bit longer, but yeah, the STVs will fall down. This orbital's dead. It's 2 orbitals on the map. It's 2 orbitals somewhere. That's just not a lot of mules. That's not a lot of scans. Ducks there on the medevacs to make sure there's no healing, and Cure will fall down. Serral will qualify 3-1 on the series score on into the playoffs. He joins Hero, he joins Maru, and he joins Clem. The usual suspects, all fantastic players playing in the round of 8 as we move on in Masters Colosseum.